From Manila to the globe, this is World Newsfeed, bringing you the biggest stories shaping our times. Good morning, I'm Raine Musñgi. Let's dive into the headlines making an impact across the world. The United States has made its position clear. It will veto a United Nations Security Council resolution on the Gaza war if the proposal remains unchanged. The resolution, introduced by the United Arab Emirates, calls for an immediate ceasefire, but U.S. officials say it fails to acknowledge Israel's right to self-defense and make the ceasefire unconditional.
The resolution does call for the release of hostages. What it doesn't do is link the release of hostages to an immediate unconditional ceasefire. And we have made clear throughout this process that we cannot support a resolution that calls for an unconditional immediate ceasefire and delinks it from the release of hostages. There are still 7 American citizens who are being held hostage in Gaza, and we are not going to walk away from them. And so we worked in good faith for several weeks to try to get to yes on this resolution, to try to get to a resolution that we can vote for. We will continue to look for ways to find consensus with other countries on the UN Security Council, but because of that language, this resolution is not something we can support.
Critics, however, argue that this position ignores the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, where more than 11,000 Palestinians, including thousands of children, have been killed since the conflict began. From Gaza shows buildings reduced to rubble and hospitals struggling to operate amid severe shortages. A vote on the resolution is expected in the coming days. In a dramatic statement, Hamas has announced it will not agree to a prisoner swap with Israel unless the ongoing war in Gaza stops. The group, which claims to hold over 240 hostages, made the announcement on Wednesday. Israel, meanwhile, has reiterated that military operations will continue until Hamas is destroyed. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in his visit to troops in the Netzarim corridor, Israel's main military supply route, offered incentives for Palestinians who help facilitate the release of hostages and point to where Hamas operatives are.
We are also making efforts to locate the hostages and bring them home. We won't give up. We will continue until we found them all, alive or dead.
This comes as pressure mounts from international mediators, including Qatar and Egypt, to reach a humanitarian pause that could facilitate negotiations. Hamas negotiators are not in Doha for talks, but Qatar says the political office is not yet closed. Now, while Hamas demands the release of 6,000 Palestinian prisoners held by Israel, families of hostages in Israel say time is running out. Meanwhile, another tragedy in the Gaza Strip. Israeli airstrikes hit a hospital in the north, killing at least 15 people, including medical staff and patients. The Gaza Health Ministry says the attack devastated the region's ability to respond to the humanitarian crisis. Israel defends its actions, claiming the target was a Hamas command center nearby. But the strikes come as northern Gaza issues a desperate call for international help, citing the destruction of infrastructure and a lack of supplies. The United Nations has warned that Gaza is on the brink of collapse, with more than 2 million residents at risk of famine and disease. In another story, Ukraine has launched UK-supplied Storm Shadow cruise missiles into Russia, marking a new escalation in the war. Bloomberg reports the strikes, which targeted military infrastructure, come a day after Kiev deployed U.S.-supplied Attack-MS missiles. Russia claims the strikes violate international norms and has vowed retaliation. The UK and U.S. defend their support, arguing that Russia's invasion left Ukraine with no choice but to respond forcefully. A high alert situation in Ukraine as the U.S. Embassy in Kiev shut down operations, citing intelligence of an imminent Russian strike. The move comes amid an escalation in Russian attacks, targeting Ukraine's capital.
Saw the security alert that went out early this morning, overnight our time. The embassy put that alert out based on a possible threat of a significant attack on Kiev, something that we take very seriously and led to the temporary change in posture at the embassy. We expect the embassy to return to normal operations tomorrow.
This escalation follows Russia's renewed drone and missile campaigns, which have caused widespread power outages and civilian casualties. Experts say these long-range missiles give Ukraine a strategic edge, but risk prolonging the conflict.
Well, I don't think we should kid ourselves that this is a panacea, that this will win Ukraine the war. But the Ukrainians are desperate, and they will do all that they possibly can with however little that they have. But they are on borrowed time, and 2025 looks like being the crunch year, especially bearing in mind the new Donald Trump presidency, which will be transformational and not to Ukraine's favor by all accounts. It's very hard to understand what an escalation might mean. Of course, that's what the Kremlin is screaming and shouting about. But the reality is that the Kremlin has already escalated to the maximum amount possible by attempting to destroy Ukraine. The next steps would be if Ukraine and the West by extension perhaps, or if the West and Ukraine by extension were to capitulate, then the Russians could escalate to the next country. But since Russia is currently engaged in obliterating Ukraine, destroying its people, murdering its men, women and children on a daily basis, then I think it's very hard to understand the word escalation, except to understand that it's part of a Russian playbook, and it gets the West to self-deter, to stop putting assistance into the field on Ukraine's behalf. That would make more sense, rather than the idea that this can conflagrate into something wider, when it's also already as bad as it could possibly get for Ukraine and, by extension, for European security.
Well, the Kremlin said other options of freezing the Ukraine conflict did not suit Russia, but indicated that President Vladimir Putin was open to negotiations. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov declined to comment on the decision by the U.S. Embassy in Kiev to close on Wednesday and issue a warning about a potential significant air attack, referring the question to the Defense Ministry. Asked about the reported move by Washington to supply Ukraine with anti-personnel landmines, Peskov said it appeared the outgoing Biden administration was fully committed to continuing the war in Ukraine. The United States told the Washington Post that it expects Ukraine to use the mines in its own territory, though it has committed not to use them in areas populated with its own civilians. Meanwhile, South Korea is accusing North Korea of supplying conventional weapons to Russia, including artillery shells and rockets. Officials claim the latest shipment was sent through ports in the Far East. Washington has also criticized Pyongyang for violating international sanctions. North Korea has denied the claim, saying it has the right to decide its own partnerships. Experts warn that this growing alliance between Russia and North Korea could increase instability in both Europe and East Asia. Pausing for a quick breather here. More of World Newsfeed in a moment. Stay on BNC.
This is The Scorecard, where you score the latest sports news and in-depth views. I'm Anton Rojas.
Get ready. Be prepared. Get to the latest stories, updates, and reports about what's happening in the world of sports. Hosted by Anton Rojas.
The Scorecard, where sports is our business and business is our sport, right here.
The Scorecard on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Get the latest on the economy and the financial markets.
We got a really big push during the pandemic, but since then, how has it been? Now, fundamentally, and given the anticipated rate cuts, where do you see the PSE index headed if either Trump or Harris win?
Down to each basis point.
12.75 billion peso deal to modernize the Lagundingan International Airport, a move that's expected to boost Mindanao's economy.
Basis points. with Mikey Orel. Weekdays, 9:30 a.m. on BNC.
Ganda.
Bilyonaryo.
Exactly.
You look like a billionaire tonight.
The bigger the hair, the closer to God.
Bilyonaryo. Super B. Yes.
Super big.
This is Casa Prieto and this is Bilyonaryo Channel.
Hi, this is Sam Pinto.
And Anthony Semrad.
Hi, this is Donnie.
This is Belle.
You are watching Bilyonaryo News Channel.
This is Nicole Anderson. Hi, this is Chief. Hey guys, this is Kylie Brazosa.
Hi, this is Mon Gutierrez and you're watching Bilyonaryo News Channel, always on top.
Kunyari lang I'm a billionaire. But hello to all the viewers of Bilyonaryo.
Ito po si Father Nono.
Ako po si Father Fiel Pareha.
Ako si Risa Singson Kaupeng.
Kape at pandasal na po tayo. Ito po si Cardinal Chito Tagli.
Aside from, being a billionaryo potential.
Oh, Lord! Anton, can you share your secret?
Eliza Valdez, 6 years from now.
Wow.
You think you'll still be playing volleyball?
That's a very, very tough question. But I'd say I want to see myself still playing, enjoying. The keyword is enjoying volleyball. Might be on and off the court. It has no authorization.
We hope and pray that it will not.
Thanks for having me here.
An orchestrated
Myself, basically.
We always say that.
It depends.
A well-concerted effort.
Perhaps I can reiterate.
My greatest beefsteak. Iba pa na yun.
Welcome back. Tensions between Washington and Beijing deepen as China's Defense Minister General Li Shangfu rejected an offer to meet with U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. The move comes as U.S.-China relations remain strained over Taiwan, the South China Sea, and recent trade disputes. China has defended its decision, stating that the U.S. must remove sanctions against General Li before diplomatic talks can proceed. Military analysts warn that a lack of communication could heighten risks in the region. The Danish military is staying close to a Chinese ship currently sitting idle in Danish waters days after 2 fiber optic data telecommunication cables in the Baltic Sea were severed. Chinese bulk carrier Yipeng 3 was anchored in the Kattegat Strait between Denmark and Sweden on Wednesday, with a Danish Navy patrol ship at anchor nearby. Marine traffic vessel tracking data showed Denmark's military did not mention the cable breaches or say why it was staying with the ship. The Chinese ship left the Russian port of Ust-Luga on November 15th and was in the areas where the cable damages occurred, according to traffic data. It also showed that other ships were also in those areas. In a major shift, the United States has recognized Venezuelan opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez as president-elect months after a disputed election. Venezuela's Foreign Minister Iván Gil responded to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's comment with personal attacks. Maduro and electoral authorities have rejected repeated calls from the U.S., European Union, Colombia, Brazil, and other nations to show the detailed vote records that back up the president's re-election. Gonzalez left Venezuela in September for exile in Spain after a warrant was issued for his arrest in connection with an investigation into the publishing of the vote tally sheets. The son of Norway's crown princess is in court for the alleged rape of an unconscious woman. Police on Monday detained 27-year-old Marius Borg Holby, son of Crown Princess Mette-Marit and stepson to Crown Prince Haakon, appeared in court Wednesday to challenge a police request to place him in preventive detention while they investigated an accusation against him. Holby's lawyer, Øyvind Bratline, told Reuters that his client was innocent and was supposed to be held in preventive detention. Hearing is taking place behind closed doors. That's what the court decided. Hoiby, the older half-brother of Princess Ingrid Alexandra, does not have a royal title and is outside the line of royal succession. But the case has cast a spotlight on domestic violence in a country that prides itself on a high degree of gender equality, but where 1 in 10 women in an academic study last year said they had been subjected to severe harm at the hands of a partner. On to Beirut now. A new generation of content creators is turning to TikTok to document the devastation left by years of economic collapse and political turmoil. From collapsed buildings to power outages, these are providing a raw look into daily life in the Lebanese capital. The BBC reports that many of the short-form video have gone viral, sparking both sympathy and debate about the role of social media in crisis reporting. Critics say the trend risks sensationalizing suffering, while others argue it gives voice to those often ignored by mainstream media. Meanwhile, a weather disturbance hit northwest U.S. on Wednesday, resulting in power knockouts, road travel disruption, and at least 2 deaths and 2 injuries. It has tropical storm force winds of 80 kilometers per hour and gusts around 110 kph, toppling down trees and power lines overnight. Left more than 600,000 homes without electricity and affected businesses in Washington, Southwest Oregon, and Northern California. The Snohomish Regional Fire and Rescue Service in Western Washington urged residents to stay home with many trees and power lines down. It was called a bomb cyclone because of its rapid intensification in less than 24 hours. It is forecast to stall over Northern California in the next few days. The National Weather Service's Weather Prediction Center rainfall on Friday could reach up to 50 centimeters in parts of southwestern Oregon and Northern California. Meanwhile, a new player has entered the world of soccer ownership. The Arnault family, known for their global luxury brand empire, has officially acquired Paris FC, a second-tier soccer club in France. The deal is described as a long-term investment with the possibility of leveraging LVMH brands for sponsorship. Fans hope the move will help the club reach the top tier of French football.
We are not doing this to earn money. I don't want to say we're doing this for the projects. That might sound pretentious, but we're doing this to evoke emotion among the public because we wanted to do a good and positive thing around sport. It's important to know that we are not here to change everything and turn tables over. We are betting on the current team and staff, and we are not here to claim we know the right thing to do and change a vast number of things in the club. On the contrary, we're here to work with the current foundations and improve everything so that the current team can rise to the League One.
Critics, however, warn that the growing influence of corporate money in sports risks overshadowing the game's community roots. The proposed takeover continues a trend of billionaires buying soccer clubs across Europe while overhauling a Paris-based club that could potentially rival Ligue 1 champions Paris Saint-Germain, owned by Qatar Sports Investments.
Today, 2/3 of all League 1 and League 2 clubs are controlled by foreign capital. I think we have to find a better balance. And if the other Parisian club tomorrow, which I hope so, and I will let Antoine talk about this, has high ambitions and can stand out with a strong national investment, that would make me very happy. And this is the case today.
Paris FC have struggled to find a fan base with an average attendance last season at just under 5,500 in their 19,000 capacity Charletti Stadium, despite tickets being free since last November. And that is all for now. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Raine Musñgi. Catch up with us again tomorrow when we bring you the world in 30 minutes, only on World Newsfeed. Follow the Money comes next. Keep it here on BNC.